Hello, everybody. Welcome to Focus on Living TV. Today, I am super excited because I'm joined by Christian O'Toole. And Christian O'Toole is my Insight Meditation teacher. So every Wednesday night, and I have to be almost, very, very, very sick or have some very special thing happening not to attend his class. So I go along to his Insight Meditation class. And I wanted to interview him today because he just, whenever I go to his class, for the following week, I just feel so much more balanced. And I guess I just wanted to share him with you. So, Christian, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What a lovely introduction.
Thank you. So, Christian, can we start off by talking about Insight Meditation and what that really is all about?
Yeah, well, I was authorized to teach meditation in the Theravada tradition now. Theravada is a branch of Buddhism, one of the oldest forms of Buddhism. And there are two types of meditation. Now, they're not two clear sort of distinctions between the two. One is samadhi meditation, which is tranquility meditation. It's when we focus on one thing and we develop a sense of calm. But there's also another type of meditation, and that's called vipassana, or insight meditation. So where one's about achieving calm, the other one is about moving towards sort of wisdom and a growing wisdom. And we do a series of guided meditations where we investigate the three characteristics of the universe: impermanence, suffering, and non-self. And they're designed in a way to not just achieve calm, but change how we see the world and how we see ourselves. But that said, really the distinction between the two isn't really all that sort of great. We can gain just the same sort of insights as well, just through focusing on the breath. But in a nutshell, that's really what it is.
So I want to know, because you as an individual come across as being very loving and very calm. What was your journey to become a teacher? And we all have generally a journey of how we came to be somewhere.
I had a moment there where I was with a friend in a cafe. I was in my mid-20s, and I realized in this particular moment just one of the things that was causing me to be really unhappy. I realized that I had, in my entire time while I was sitting there spending time with this friend of mine, just actually thinking about the next thing I was going to do and all the things that I wanted to do. And, in 5, 10 minutes, half an hour's time, or when I got home, and it then dawned on me that I hadn't really been present at all. And I just made a decision to learn meditation. So I went and got some books and I started studying it. But I suppose I went into it not just sort of learning how to do meditation just for the sake of it, just to achieve a sort of sense of calm, but I went into it with a spirit of really wanting to change myself and change the way in which I suppose I related with the world, and realized pretty quickly that I needed a teacher, that there was only so much I was going to learn from books, and found myself a teacher and studied under Philippa for several years. And I didn't realize at the time when I started just how changed I was going to be. And here I am in my early 40s and taking classes where I'm talking about love and that kind of thing. And if someone had said to me 15 years ago that would be what I was going to end up doing, I would have laughed at them. I just feel that as a result of the practice, I've developed a sort of fearlessness, and that I'm more than happy to listen to my heart and do what my heart tells me to do. And it's put me in a lovely space in comparison to what I was like all that time ago.
And I think it's interesting, our journey. My original reasons for starting to meditate was from a health perspective, that I'd read a book that said that meditation can actually help from a scientific perspective, can help with repairing your telomeres. When we die, our telomeres are completely almost non-existent. They're the shoelace type endings on the end of your cells, and when our health is really compromised, our telomeres become shortened. So they used control groups, and the control group that had meditated over this period of a few months, they'd seen that their telomeres had lengthened. So that was originally my reason for starting to meditate. And as a result out of it, and I guess before meeting you, it was really just focused on the breath, but I've had these amazing moments of clarity in terms of insight into my own wisdom about what I should do next into different situations. Have you ever had similar instances?
I remember one of the more profound experiences that I had when I first started to meditate was I decided I was going to sit down and just simply label my thoughts as past, present, or future, and just recognize whatever thoughts came. And I remember sitting there, and it was kind of like this: future, future, future. And all these things just coming up, all this stuff, and I just realized just what and it was just imagination was doing to me, and how powerfully that was taking me out of the moment, and that I was just, and that was the cause of my restlessness, and that here I was thinking that I was enjoying myself, and I clearly wasn't. So I went into it not necessarily from a health reason. I distinctly recall thinking when I was with my friend in that cafe, that I just remember thinking, I'm mid-20s, I can't imagine 60 more years of doing this, of living like this. And the whole thought of having a life where I felt like that all the time was unacceptable to me. I really didn't like the idea of it, and I thought, well, something has to give, something has to change, because it's going to lead to an awful life.
So, Christian, how do you feel about life today?
I feel like a lot of the time there's real sort of freedom pretty much in everything that I experience. And you know, life throws challenges, and it's not always easy, but I think that where initially when I meditated I was able to, I suppose, spend a moment and just focus on the breath and sort of gather myself, it's become a lot more than that now. I've been able to see that in a moment, regardless of what's happening, that I'm become mindful of the stories that perhaps want to arise in the mind about the future or about what should happen, and those sorts of things. And I've just found that with practice now I'm able to recognize a story as just simply a story, and to drop that, just in the same way that when you meditate and you focus on the breath and a distraction comes and you just return your awareness to the breath, so too I've been able to, regardless pretty much of most things or anything that's happening in my life, just able to just come back and simply do what I'm doing in a given moment, and to quieten the story in a way. And that makes, I don't know, it feels like there's this sort of space in the mind that's not so judgmental, that is much quieter, and that I function even better as a result of having that space. So that's what life's like at the moment. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the reasons that your students, and including me, are so attracted to the class, is because you do have that presence of being mindful all the time. And that's something that I've noticed with me doing the class, is I'm becoming more mindful in a lot more moments rather than just on the meditation cushion, which is what it used to be. And, I remember you saying that if you can just come back to being mindful on what you were doing at that present moment. So just before our interview tonight, I was washing the dishes, and I was just thinking about washing the dishes.
And it's freedom in those normal moments. Like, we're not really looking for anything special. We just do what we normally do, but we do them differently. That's all. We do them with a sense of presence. And you could be doing the dishes, but if you've got this sort of inner narrative that's going on, and you're doing the dishes, but you're sort of suffering at the same time. And I suppose that when I first started this, I was interested in becoming a sort of a decent meditator, whatever that means. I'm not really sure what that means, but at the same time, it needs to be, in my mind anyway, a little bit more than that. It needs to sort of permeate one's life, and the skills are transferable, and that's what happens. You learn the skills on the meditation cushion, and then you apply them elsewhere. And it's simply, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simply just bringing the awareness back to what we're doing in a given moment, in the way that when you meditate, bringing the awareness back to the breath. The space in the mind that exists when we meditate doesn't have to really be any different anywhere else. We can, in training on the cushion, learn to do a lot more off the cushion as well, and feel the same sort of degree of freedom and quiet that you might feel when you're sitting in formal meditation at other points. And the better one gets at it, the more difficult those situations in our lives that we're able to navigate.
And I've also realized that being grateful in the moments that you have, regardless of them, whether they're challenging and that they may have teaching you a lesson, or in little moments like, Audrey and Coco coming in and joining me, is really what life's about. Because those things that we hope to achieve, that so-called destination, when you get there, then there's always something else around the corner that you want next. So yeah, those little moments.
And all those little moments, regardless of how challenging they are, or how minor they are, they're always opportunities to practice. We are constantly provided with an opportunity to be mindful, and in a way, when we remember that, we can understand, in a sense, that the world is our Sangha. And by Sangha, the Buddha talks about the Sangha, the Buddha and the Dhamma, the three jewels. The Sangha in the sense that the community of practitioners. But when you think about it, we can be in community, we're in communion with everything. Everything is an opportunity to practice. And for that, we can be grateful, even for those difficult moments, because how else do we know where we're at with our practice? We could be having long periods of time where our meditation is going along really well, and where we say, I'm being really mindful, and it's not really until things are hard that they're tested. And they're the moments where, even in those difficult times, where we could still be grateful too. It sounds a little odd, but it's an opportunity for practice, and it's an opportunity to continue to develop one's skill.
So Christian, what would be the words of advice to people out there that perhaps hadn't tried meditation, what would your words of advice be for somebody that was thinking about how do they practice it?
I'd like firstly, I think that having a sense as to why they might want to practice meditation in the first place is a good thing. And even if there's no real sort of clarity around that, but just a sort of a sense of, I'd like to meditate because this is how I've been feeling, and I suppose just recognizing what the catalyst might be to sort of move into this sort of practice. And I think just in a way keeping it really simple and not setting unrealistic goals either. This is a skill, that takes time to develop, and therefore I think that there's real traps in thinking, well, I want to meditate, so I'm going to sit on a cushion in a full lotus position, even if I don't even sit in the full lotus position. I think something would snap.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
But, just setting a goal of just learning, I suppose, to focus on the breath, noting where we feel the breath the most, and just tuning into that, and just sitting, having a nice quiet spot, and just turning to the breath. And if a distraction comes, we can beat ourselves up over it, but that's really unwise. We turn to the breath, we turn to meditation, because there are habits of mind that we want to overcome. So those habits are not going to be easy to overcome. You can expect the mind to be distracted, and therefore sitting down, expecting distractions, not hoping for miracles, because that's just part of the story, and just sitting, even if it's only for just 2 minutes, and then gradually building up over time to maybe 5 minutes, and then maybe a little bit longer. Certainly recommend getting a teacher as well. I thought that I could do it initially on my own, and I got some books on it, and I quickly realized that I needed a teacher. I felt like I had too many questions, but it doesn't have to be complicated. A quiet spot, focusing on the breath, and just relaxing into the breath, not trying to control the breath, just watching it. The breath will take care of itself. And just simply watching the breath for 2 minutes. Start there.
Awesome. Okay, so people that may want to find you and come and experience your wonderful class, how do they find you?
Okay, well, I have a website, and on that website there's a contact us page. So the website's www.peninsulainsight.com, and as I said, there's a page there. Otherwise, you can check me out on Facebook as well. There's a Facebook page there, and you can contact me through that.
Great. Christian, so much for joining me this evening, and joining Audrey and Coco, that's now lying down here quite peacefully beside me. And good night to everybody else.
Thank you very much, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks.